What up? What up? Welcome back. It is week 4, and this is the start and sit show for the week. If it's your first time here, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, turn on all the notifications. I do this every single week. We're breaking down every single game. Turn on the notifications so you can come to the live stream so you can catch this live while I'm recording it. You guys can ask questions specifically about your leagues. And if you have any questions, throw them in the YouTube comments. Let's get down to biz. We are starting off with Thursday night football. It is going to be an epic battle when the Cowboys go to New Jersey to face the New York Giants. And oh yeah, both teams looking the exact opposite of what we thought that they were going to be this year based on last year. Cowboys last week, this is looking like ass, getting ran all over. Giants last week, they're looking like studs, whooping all up over the Browns. I think it's going to be an ugly divisional Thursday night game. Dak, would I start him? Yes. CD, would I start him? Yes. You're starting those guys. Single QB, maybe Dak's a little bit of a question, okay? But I think he showed last week. He's got to start him. He's got CD Lamb over there. And if they are actually losing at any time and they have to throw, they're going to be doing nothing but throwing. And they really can't run the ball. So like for Rico and Zeke, I'm just leaning on sitting, man. They're probably going to disappoint you on a Thursday night. And that's the thing that sucks about it the most with this Thursday night game. Do we want to take the chance of getting disappointed? In week 1, the Giants, they give up mediocre points to the Vikings running backs. And then in week 2 to Washington, they gave up, let's say, top 10-ish points to the running backs. But then last week, Cleveland, someone who we think runs the ball like very well, they completely shut down their run game. Like they gave up like the 7th least amount of points to running back. So overall, they are giving up the 16th most points. I'm just going to say the run of the mill and the Thursday, screw Rico, screw Zeke, leave him on your bench. Cooks and Tolbert, we're talking dart throw flexes. I don't even want to play either of those guys. If I had to pick one, I'll say Brandon Cooks as just some kind of like dart throw flex because of injuries or whatever, and you have to make a choice on Cooks or someone else. I'll do Cooks. Outside of that, the tight end, Ferg. Tight ends are so trash. I feel like you're just starting them either way. So if you got Ferguson, you're starting them. Now let's jump over to the home team, and we got the Giants, and led by Mr. Daniel Pesos Jones. I'm going to say single QB. Nah, I'm not going to start him. Super flex, you might be starting him out there. It really depends on the options that you have. I'm going to lean on him as a sit on Thursday night in this divisional matchup. Devin Singletary, he's a start for me, but he's like a flex start. It's really because the Cowboys have been so bad against defending the running backs. As of right now, they're giving up the most points to running backs. So I feel like Singletary, you can feel at least a little bit secure with that. I don't want to take too many chances, though. Neighbors, come on. Are we sitting him anymore? I feel like everybody who has him just wants to start him now. You almost have to. Cowboys, they're giving up so much more points to the running backs than the wide receivers. They're giving up the 14th least amount of points to the wide receivers. Do with that information what you may. I'm probably still starting Neighbors because Pesos, yeah, he throws to like Neighbors and Wandale, and that's it. And no, I'm not starting Wandale. If you're desperate for a flex play, like maybe that's the only way I would consider him. But yeah, it's Singletary and Neighbors. Those would be the two guys that I would be starting off of here with at least a little bit of confidence. And Pesos in the super flex, yeah, I might consider starting him. Sunday matchups. We got the Bengals going up against the Panthers. Joe Burrow, I'm going to start him. Zach Moss, going to start him. Flex, that's about it. Jamar Chase, Higgins, I feel like you got to start him. It is a little bit of a tougher matchup. Feel like you got to start him. Yoshi, he's a long shot dart throw, and there could be a lot worse matchups that you could have on your bench. So I'm going to say he's like a startable flex to me, not a wide receiver 2 or anything. I'm starting Higgins with a little bit more confidence. There was just a few balls that just went the wrong way. Big pause for Higgins. He dropped a couple Like one was like would have been a touchdown, but as he was going down to the ground, he couldn't maintain possession. Got a PI in the end zone. So there a few plays happen differently, and we're not liking Higgins week like as much. So yeah, I just really feel like a guy like Higgins, he got a lot of hate for coming back and not having a bunch of points. But if you actually watch the game, he did get a lot of work. It was just, a lot of bad luck, I would say. Mike Gesicki, I'm going to start him. I mean, the one way that you can move the ball really easily on the Panthers is the tight ends. I don't know about Brock Bowers last week. They kind of like switched it up a little bit. But yeah, I would be starting Mike Gesicki because the tight end landscape is just straight booty. Now over to the home team, the Panthers. Andy Dalton. In a super flex, I would definitely consider starting him, depending on who your options are. And Chuba, I'm leaning on sitting him. He's like a flex guy at best. I want to see it 2 weeks in a row before I just say he's like a locked and loaded starter. So it depends on your options. Maybe he's a flex. I'm leaning on sitting him, though. Deontay Johnson, he's a start right now. If Dalton feeds him the way that he fed him last week, it's going to be a lot of volume for Deontay. A lot of people are hyped on Leggett. I'm not. I want to see it first. Don't start him. Mingo. We're not starting Mingo. Tommy Tremble. He actually got a little bit of work with Dalton. And I'm still going to say sit him, but let's get him on your radar. This game is going to be really ugly, I think, with no fans in the stands. Now we got the Saints going into Atlanta. Another divisional game here. Derek Carr. I'm leaning on sitting Derek Carr in a single QB. Super flex, it's like all guys like this are amongst like potential starters. Alvin Kamara, Falcons have been a little bit tough against the run. I believe they're giving up the third least points to running backs right now. So if you have him, you're probably going to start him. But I'm just saying, make sure your expectations are exactly that he is going up against one of the tougher run defenses in the league right now. And at least the ones not giving up a shitload of points. Chris Olave, I'm starting him. Raheed Shaheed. Man, I feel like he's a flex guy, and I don't want to start him, but he's like flex-ish at best. And for the tight ends, I'm just going to don't start any of the tight ends versus them. The Falcons, they've been real stingy about giving up points to the tight ends. And there you go. There's the Saints. And now the home team, Kirk Cousins. What do we do with Kirk Cousins? Because it's every single week, it's like we get a different version of this guy. And I don't know about you guys, but it really chaps my ass. Now, what I will say is the Saints, they are holding down the quarterback position. And that's the thing that kind of sucks. Is it's a really bad matchup for Kirk Cousins. So on a single QB, I'm going to sit him. Super flex, you might have no choice but to start him. But in this crazy divisional game, even in super flex, I'd be leaning on trying to start someone with a better matchup. But if you got to start him, you got to start him. It is what it is. Bijan, you're never sitting him. Drake London. One of the things that sucks about going up against the Saints is their cornerbacks and how good they are, and Lattimore, and how they can take the number one guy like out of the equation a lot. I'm going to say you're probably going to start him anyways. But if you're in like a 10-man league, I'll lean on sitting him. And Darnell Mooney, because there's going to be so much focus on Drake London, I would be okay starting Darnell Mooney in a flex spot if that's one of the last things. Would I rather start Mooney over Drake London? I almost would. Ray McLeod, no, it's a nice experiment. Kyle Pitts, this is another guy who just been sucking, right? But the matchup is juicy for him in last week, like what Dallas Goedert did to him. I know it took everybody else being out to do that. Saints gave up decent points to not even Ferguson, right? Wasn't it Schoonmaker who went up against them? And the only time they did good with defending a tight end was when they played Carolina week 1, and like Tommy Tremble's like their tight end. So yeah, I'm a little bit nervous about the Falcons, especially Kirk Cousins, especially Drake London, but let's go. Week 4 must just be a week of divisional games because we got the Jaguars going into Houston to take on the Texans. T-Law, I'm sitting him. Travis Etienne, I'll play him. Christian Kirk, ooh, I'm not going to play him because he's probably going to be covered by Derek Stingley. And I don't want to start anybody else over here. If anybody, it'll be a tight end. I'll start Evan Ingram if he plays. I'll start Brenton Strange if Ingram does not play. But it's all ugly for the Jags right now. And this is going to be one of those probably really bad divisional games. And that's why I don't want to start many pieces from this Jags offense this week. And now the home team, the Houston Texans. Man, Joe Mixon, come back to us. Come back to us. CJ Stroud. I'm going to play him versus the Jags. Jags have been mediocre at best, right, against the QB. As of right now, they're giving up the third most points to the QB. So, of course, we're going to exploit that matchup. And then that means that you got to play Nico for sure. And you got to play Stephon Diggs, like they just showed. Tank Dell, he's the guy who I'm not playing. I know he's a little banged up. He's got the Q next to his name here. We got to see how practice goes for him as well. But Nico and Diggs, it just seems like those guys are like must starts to me, the way that they can use them. And then Tank Dell is going to be the guy probably during a lot of these bye weeks where maybe he's more valuable to you and in certain type of matchups. And I guess this could be the matchup, right? Jags just giving up the extreme booty to the wide receivers, but I'm leaning on sitting Tank Dell as of now, maybe a flex play. And Dalton Schultz, I don't really want to play Dalton Schultz. He's been a disappointment, and it's just because they have so many good pieces over there. And the Jags are giving up like the 13th least points to the tight end, so it's not necessarily like that good of a matchup either. So there you have it on the Houston Texans. On to the next. Next matchup on the docket, we got the Broncos going over to New York to play those goddamn Jets. Bo Nix, I'm going to sit him versus those Jets. Javonte, going to sit him. Jaleel McLaughlin, going to sit him. Tyler Batty. I know there's going to be some people who kind of like flavor of the week pick up, but please do not start. Cortland Sutton, no. Reynolds, no. Vele, no. Dolch, no. Do not do it. We got a bunch of bums this week, and they have one of the toughest matchups going up against the Jets. Look at what they did to the Patriots last week. Don't do it. Other side of the ball here, we got those goddamn Jets. And Aaron Rodgers, I feel like after last week, you really have to start him. One of the things that sucks about the Broncos, they're giving up the fourth least amount of points to quarterbacks. By my calculations, that's not good. But they are giving up a bunch of points to the running backs, though. They're giving up like top 10, top 11 numbers. So, yeah, Brees Hall, worth doing it. Garrett Wilson, you're going to start him, okay? You're going to start him either way. But I'm saying sit him this week. Patrick Surtain Jr. You don't want any parts of that. Like, you'd rather play a Lazard or a Mike Williams because Surtain's not going to be guarding them like ever. So that means that he's probably going to be all over Garrett Wilson like a cheap suit. So it's like Tyler Conklin, Mike Williams, Alan Lazard. All those guys could have whatever flex play type of games. And I would start Conklin because the tight end landscape is just ass. It is so ass. And I would start Alan Lazard over Mike Williams if you guys like need a dart throw like that. But that's all those guys are, is a dart throw. Because look at Lazard last week. Like, he didn't get that much volume. Like, he got lucky that he got the touchdown. So he ended up having good points at the end of the day. But all these guys are like touchdown dependent, like flex plays. And that's about it. And that's all I got to say about that. We got another big divisional matchup here. We got the Vikings going over to Green Bay. Sam Darnold. Earlier in the week, they said that it was a bruise, that he does not have any structural damage to his knee. So we're going to be paying attention to the injury reports, but I think he's going to be okay, just having the bruise. And would I start him in a single QB? I'm going to say no. The Packers have been one of the toughest secondaries to throw on out of the entire league. Now, Superflex, I probably would. Superflex, I probably would. It all depends on your options. The Packers, they're giving up the 15th least amount of points to a quarterback. So, yeah, middle of the road, nothing too crazy. They were giving up a bunch of points to the running backs, but then they had such a good game against the Tennessee Titans that kind of made them like middle of the road as far as like giving up points. But I don't care about that because we got a revenge narrative. Aaron Jones going back to Lambeau Field. And yeah, let's see. He's going to get a Lambeau leap. I can almost guarantee that. And Aaron Jones, anytime touchdown, book it. Justin Jefferson, you're playing him. If Jordan Addison is not playing, then I would play Naylor because Justin Jefferson is going to be going up against Jair Alexander. And that is one of the tougher cornerback wide receiver matchups that you can have in all of football. But we're still starting Justin Jefferson. We're not even thinking about taking him out of the lineup because as long as Darnold's in there, he's going to be slinging the rock to him. And that's all we want. Now to the home team, those Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love practiced last week. He might be playing this week. We need to monitor the practice reports. And if he's playing, I'm going to play him. The Vikings are one of the tougher defenses in the NFC right now. And they're giving up the 9th least points to quarterback. So it is a really tough matchup, but he's at home. He's got an array of weapons. And we're going to deploy him. We're going to deploy him in a single QB. And of course, we're going to deploy him in a super flex. Now, Josh Jacobs, I feel like you almost have to start him at least, if nothing else, as a flex. I find it hard to believe that you would have 3 better running backs on your team. It's like an 8-man league or something. So if you have depth like that, yeah, just go ahead and sit him because the Vikings are giving up the 12th least amount of points to running backs right now. And I know 3 games is a small sample size, but it's all we have to go off of right now. I'm still going to play him unless you like have 3 amazing options to play over him, at least 2 plus a good flex. Reed, I'm playing him. Watson, I'm sitting him. Dubs, I'll play him in a flex. And please don't play any of the tight ends from the Packers. I hope you're not doing that anymore. Come on. On to the next. Next game, we got the Steel Dogs going over to Indy. Justin Fields, don't play him. Najee, I'm leaning on playing him, but it's going to come down to his availability. It's because the Colts, they might have one of the worst run defenses in the league. They're giving up like the 5th most points to running backs right now. So that's why I'd play Najee and or Warren if one of them doesn't play. George Pickens, though, man, I really don't want to play George Pickens, but the Colts are giving up so many points to the wide receivers that you almost have to. Calvin Austin, he's like a dart throw, like flex guy. Pat Freiermuth is, because the tight end landscape is so booty, I feel like you have to start him because the Colts are giving up like the 3rd most points to the tight ends. I mean, just you got to go with it. So yeah, I'll start Najee or Warren. If one of them starts, if only one starts, even better. If neither one of them starts, Corduroy Pimpin, man, go pick him up and get him in your lineup somehow.
Come get on that.
Let's go, man. We haven't been able to deploy Corduroy Pimpin in a long time.
Pimpin ain't easy.
Now you might get a chance. Now we got the other side of the ball here. And even though he's at home, man, Anthony Richardson, I am sitting him versus those Steelers are giving up the 8th least points to quarterbacks. I don't want it. No parts of it. Jonathan Taylor, if you got him, you just have to start him. There is no not starting him. But for what it's worth, Steelers are giving up the 5th least points to running backs. That's super ugly. They're giving up points to the tight ends. They're giving up like 10th most points to the tight ends, but do we really want to start Granson? I feel like you got to be desperate, but if you needed like a desperation, like dart throw tight end, I guess you could do way worse than that. But yeah, I really don't want to start anybody. Nobody really wants to start Pittman right now. Does anybody want to take a shot that like downs actually ends up being a thing like right away? Alec Pierce, like maybe if you're taking like a dart throw, but I really don't want any part of the Colts, and it's because the Steelers defense has been on fire so far this season. Not a lot of production coming against those Steel Dogs right now. Next game on the docket, we got the Rams going over to see the Bears in Chicago. This game's gonna suck. It really is, because I don't want to start anybody like from the Rams. The Bears, they're giving up the 2nd least amount of points to quarterbacks. And then with Stafford not having Cooper Kupp or Puka, yeah, I really don't want any parts of that. Kyren, that'd be really the only guy, because the Bears, they're giving up some points to the running backs. Pollard did good against them, and shit, we saw what JT and others did to him. Those are the only guys. Like, that's it. We're obviously not starting Cooper Kupp. Demarcus Robinson, want no parts. Tutu, want no parts. Colby, want no parts. Tyler Johnson, want no parts. If anybody, it would be Tutu. That's a desperation flex play, and it's because of how they use him. So Tutu in the flex, that's the only person that I would start out of their receiving core or their quarterbacks. And Kyren, yeah, I feel like no matter what, Kyren, you're starting him every week, no matter what at this point. RBs is just so bad, like you have to. Now to the other side of the ball here. And the Rams, they've given up a shitload of points to the quarterback. So I don't want to start Caleb in a single QB, but a super flex. I do have a little bit of confidence for him this week. He really sucks, like right now. Like, not him. It's like his offensive line sucks. The running game sucks. And so all these pieces around make him like suck a little bit too. But Caleb, super flex, I would start him though. DeAndre Swift, Roshan, Khalil Herbert. I really hope that you're not starting any of these running backs anymore. The Rams are giving up the 14th least points to running backs, so it's not like it's any kind of a good matchup for those guys. Now, DJ Moore and Rome Odunze, though, I don't know about Keenan Allen. If he plays, good luck. But if Keenan Allen doesn't play, which he hasn't been, I would say DJ Moore and Rome Odunze, you just start them. The secondary for the Rams isn't that good, and they're giving up like the 4th most points to wide receivers right now. This would be a matchup that I would exploit. And the tight end, same kind of thing there. They have the San Fran has no George Kittle like last week, and that was like the only week that the Rams didn't give up like crazy booty to the tight ends. So Cole Kmet, that's a good matchup as well, and I would say deploy Cole Kmet. I don't know how often I'm going to say to deploy this many Bears in the same game, so take advantage, all you Bears fans. Get them in now while you can. We got an ugly game to cover here. This is the last one of the early slate of games. We got the Eagles going over to Tampa Bay to play the Bucs. Hurts, oh man, I don't even want to play him in a single QB league. Like super flex, you probably have no choice. Barkley, we're playing them. AJ Brown, not coming back, I don't think, not this week. Devonta Smith, concussion last week. He might miss this week just due to concussion. So I both of them miss. That makes it to where you really don't want to start Hurts, because who are you going to play? Dodson?
Obviously.
No. If you play Dodson,
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Really, the only guy, if nobody plays, is going to be Goddard. And it's ugly, man. It's ugly. And the Bucs, they're giving up like bottom 8 numbers to the tight end. There's not really too many teams that are doing like good at deploying the tight end against them. And they played Washington, they played Detroit, and they played Denver. Laporta, though, they completely shut him down. It's because they got Levante David over there, man. They got some good linebackers. Antoine Winfield's still not back, but didn't matter because it's not like they gave up like any kind of like decent points to like the tight ends. So yeah, Goddard would be the guy, but it sucks because who else are you going to start? Dotson?
Oh, you are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
We're going to start Paris Campbell or Johnny Wilson or something? No, you're just going to be sitting everybody. Ugly week coming for the Eagles. Now over to the home side of things. We got Baker Mayfield and the Bucs, and the Eagles are giving up the 11th least points to QBs. I know Kirk Cousins did pretty good on them. Jordan Love, he did okay when they played him in week 1 and then completely shut down Derek Carr. And because of that, it like skewed their numbers and got them down to like 11th amount of points like given up. So Baker Mayfield, single QB, I'm sitting him. Super flex, I'm almost debating on sitting him if you have a somewhat of a decent option or a third QB. Rachaad White, man, is he even like startable at this point? And versus a team like the Eagles, where they're giving up the 4th least points to running backs, I feel like you just got to sit those guys like as well. And they're not giving up good points to QBs. Should they be giving up a lot of points to wide receivers? A lot of times, no, they wouldn't, but they're giving up right now the third most points to wide receivers. So it seems like it's really weird how they're not giving up a shitload of points to the QBs, but they're giving up a bunch of points to the wide receivers, though. I feel like there's no sitting Chris Godwin. We're going to be deploying him the way they use him in the slot. Mike Evans, he's going to be going up against Slay. So one of the tougher cornerback matchups, I'm going to say sit Mike Evans because of that. If you play multiple flexes, you're probably going to have to play him. But yeah, I just in a nutshell, I would start Chris Godwin and I would sit Evans, and you're not considering anybody else anyways. And there we go. That's the last game on the early slate of games. Hit that subscribe button. If you have not, turn on the notifications. Hit that like button as well. And make sure you guys come check out the live streams when I record this, plus every other show that I'm doing. It's a morning show. Get started around 7, 8 o'clock West Coast time, pretty much every day. Sunday's the most lit out of them all. First game on the afternoon slate, we got the Patriots going to the West Coast to take on the San Francisco 49ers. And you're really not starting anybody from this team this week. I'm sure they're going to have some kind of like a bounce back, and they have 13 days and yada, yada, yada. I don't want to start Ramondre Stevenson versus the 49ers. You may have to. I don't really want to. I know that Kyren, he did his thing like last week. Outside of that, the 49ers are shutting everybody else down. So I'm just leaning. This is going to be very, very easy to say sit everyone like this week, because so to the running backs, you're giving up bottom 5 numbers. To the tight ends, they're giving up bottom 5 numbers. To the wide receivers, that's maybe the only place you could deploy against them, because the Jets and Minnesota, they did get some points on them, and they're giving up the 11th or 12th most points to wide receivers. And then they're giving up like middle of the road numbers to QBs. So yeah, I don't want to start anybody. If anybody you're going to take a dart throw on, it's going to be Demario Douglas. Just lean in, sit everybody with the pat. Now to the home team. So for Brock, Patriots, outside of week 1, they've given up decent numbers to the QBs. And unless there's something like seriously wrong with Brock, like I don't know why you wouldn't start him. In Superflex, you're for sure starting him. Single QB, I feel like he's like fringe, like top 12. But the Patriots, they're pretty good at holding quarterbacks down who don't have a bunch of weapons. And right now, he doesn't have a bunch of weapons. We don't even know if Kittle's going to play. Debo's not going to play. You got Brandon Ayuk and Juwan Jennings, and of course Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason, it sucks because I want to sit him, because the Patriots have not given up like any kind of good points to the running backs like so far. And it sucks, man. It really sucks. And I'm going to say sit him, because I know that a lot of people think he's like a locked and loaded like RB, but you know, Brees, like he didn't do like amazing like versus him. He did good. He did Brees things, took him getting into the end zone as well. And I don't know. I'm not banking on Jordan Mason. And dude, with Brandon Ayuk, like that is the place that it seems like you can get some points on them, is the wide receivers. And so I'll say go ahead and sit him. And you know why? Because I really feel like they do everything to take Brandon Ayuk out of the game. And I bet that makes it a lot easier for Juwan Jennings. So Juwan Jennings, I will say even start as a flex. You're probably going to have to start Brandon Ayuk. It's luxury if you can actually sit him. Now, jumping over to the Washington Commandos. Man, they caught the Bengals with their pants down last week. It's usually the other way around for these damn Commandos. Jaden Daniels. I'm going to say super flex. You're starting them. Single QB. It really depends on who you have. But he keeps his floor high with the rushing. And if he can actually start hitting Scary Terry, now that they pretty much moved Scary Terry, they didn't move him, but I think they've realized that he only throws to the right side. That's it. He only throws to the right side. And then, so what do? They move Terry over to the right side. Boom. The rest is history. So that's why I will say start Jaden Daniels. I mean, in a super flex, single QB. We'll see. And I will say start Scary Terry. Now, the Cardinals, they have been shutting down wide receivers a little bit. And I know they have a decent number one over there, but I am still going to say start Scary Terry. It's more of a flex. That's about it. Brian Robinson Jr., B-Rob the Mob, Austin Eckler, Elkin Custo. So I feel like Austin Eckler doesn't play. I mean, it's definitely going to be B-Rob the Mob, like all the way, right? Luke McCaffrey, Noah Brown, any of those other guys, like they're just not there. Zach Ertz, I know there's a lot of people who want to start Zach Ertz. The Cardinals are giving up the 14th least points to tight ends. And even look last week, like versus Detroit, it wasn't even really Laporta that was doing it. It was kind of like fluky tight end shit. So I would just say sit Zach Ertz. And it's going to be hard because there's way more, like there's barely any tight ends that I even want to start. So like it's making it impossible for people to even fill a tight end spot these days. It sucks, man. It really sucks. All righty. Now on to the home team. Kyler Murray must start because the Commandos, they are giving up the most points to the quarterback position. So he is a must start. James Conner, he is a must start. Commandos, they are giving up the third most points to running backs. Oh, yeah. Now, do the wide receivers get left out of the mix? Hell no. The Commandos, they are giving up the most points to wide receivers. So, yes, deploy Marvin Harrison Jr. Let's do it. Now, for the tight ends, they're giving up the 10th least points to tight ends. I think it's because everybody eats, everybody eats. And so I think that's why the tight ends get left out a little bit of the mix. Trey McBride, though, I don't even know if he's going to come back this week because he got Elkin Custo last week. So we might not even have to make a choice on him this week. But Kyler, James Conner, Marvin Harrison Jr. as of right now, fire him up.
All right, fire him up.
We got another big divisional matchup. This one is in the AFC West. We got the Steelers going over to SoFi in LA to take on the Chargers. And Patrick Mahomes, single QB, you might be debating on sitting him. The Chargers haven't given up a bunch of points to the quarterbacks. Justin Fields, though, he'll beg to differ, but not so good. Bryce Young and Gardner Minshew, they shut them down. But yeah, Patrick Mahomes, luckily I play in Superflex and you're just starting him there like everywhere, of course. Now, how about the running backs, though? The Chargers, I'd say it's week 2 when they played Carolina. They completely shut them down. But you look at week 1, the running backs for the Raiders, a few of them, and then Pitt, they did their thing against them. I'm just going to say start Carson Steele. There's a lot of shitty matchups this week. I'm going to say start Carson Steele. And the place that the Chargers are really good at defending is the wide receivers, and a lot of it's because of Asante Samuel Jr. But there's no way in hell that we're sitting Rashee Rice. Like, he's just a must start these days. So we're locking that down. Xavier Worthy, though, even though X gonna give it to you, I'm just gonna say sit him. I bet the Chiefs are not gonna have to do a bunch of trickery to beat the Chargers. That's why I have the Chiefs as my survival pool pick this week. Oh yeah, the Chiefs, they're gonna go into SoFi. It's gonna be an easy game for them. Derwin James, he has been suspended for this game. You know who Travis Kelce hates on the Chargers? Derwin James, because he defends him so well. So Travis Kelce, if you have him, you're deploying him. You know why? Because every tight end sucks right now. All of them do. All of them. So you're not going to be able to pick up anybody off of waivers who gives you a better chance to win than Travis Kelce. So you just go with a good matchup with Travis Kelce, and we tell Travis Kelce, you better get your shit together. Okay? And that's all I got to say about that. Now on the other side of things, we got the Chargers. Justin Herbert, he's got a broken wheel right now, man. He's got a messed up ankle. We don't even know if he's going to play. I'm recording this on Wednesday before all the West Coast practice reports and everything are coming out. So just make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you come back because we're always covering the news every single day on the morning shows. So come through. If Justin Herbert plays in a single QB, I'm not playing him. In Superflex, you might have no choice, so I'm just going to play him. The Chiefs, though, they are giving up the 18th least amount of points. So what is that? They're giving up the 14th most points to QBs. Not a walk in the park, like either way. Not a walk in the park. Now, when it comes to the running backs, I'm sorry for everybody who really likes J.K. Dobbins, but this is not going to be the week to start him. Trust me, because most of the time, the Chiefs and Chris Jones, they are shutting down the run game. So, yeah, do yourself a favor. Put J.K. Dobbins on the bench. If you can sell J.K. Dobbins, do it now. He's got a bye week coming up in week 5. So, either way, it is going to be 2 weeks worth of nothing for him. And if you can get him off right now, get something back that you can play this week that's better than J.K. Dobbins, that'd be the smart move. Now, Josh Palmer. I don't think there's anybody who's like really playing Josh Palmer anymore, is there? Quentin Johnston. I told you guys he's not going to be a crazy volume guy. He's not going to be that dude. Do I even want to play him? Not really, especially if Herbert doesn't play. Like, you're not playing anybody from the Chargers. Just remember that. If Herbert doesn't play, you're not playing anybody from the Chargers. If Herbert does play, like Quentin Johnson, like he's playing a double flex or a triple flex or something like that, maybe you throw him in there. But outside of that, like, he doesn't get a lot of volume. So unless he gets the touchdown, which he did, and is he going to continue his touchdown streak? Maybe he does. But if he doesn't get a touchdown, he's not going to be worth the start. Ladd McConkey, the same thing. Just, it's a tough matchup for him. And unless he gets a touchdown, it's probably not going to be that good for him. And if Herbert doesn't play, they legit might not score a touchdown, like at all. And nobody's playing the tight ends for the Chargers, right? Like that. Last game in the afternoon slate, and we got the Browns going over to Vegas to go play the Raiders. And oh man. So the Browns, they're missing like multiple linemen. At least one is like going on IR. They might have both of their tackles miss. And so it's rough, man. It is rough for the Browns. I don't want to start anybody. And that's what kind of like sucks, because like the Raiders, though, it's like their defense sucks. Their defense sucks right now. And Max Crosby's hurt. And I don't know if he's not going to play, but they said that he was playing on a high ankle sprain this past week. So Deshaun has been so bad that I'm just going to say sit him. Like, it's a really good matchup for him, but I just don't want to get screwed like by Watson. Nobody does. I'm not going to expose my team by subjecting Watson to them, okay? Now, Superflex, you might have to. It is what it is. Jerome Ford, he's hurt. I don't know if we're going to be starting him. It is a good matchup. It is a really good matchup versus the Raiders. And the Raiders are giving up like the second most points to running backs. So hopefully Ford just gets a full go sometime throughout this week, and I can just say to start him. But as of right now, we can't. Now, Amari the Pooper Scooper. Because it is a revenge narrative, I'm going to say start him. Outside of that, I did have a little breakout week like last week, and that was probably, I don't think anybody really thought he was going to do as good as he did. Caught a lot of people by surprise. But yeah, I'm going to say we're going to be sitting a lot of people like from here, because if the offensive line, if they're missing 3 offensive linemen when it's all said and done, 3 starters, 2 of them tackles there to protect Watson, it's not going to be good. Not going to be good. Now to the home team, the Raiders. Oh, man, it's ugly. It is so ugly. Gardner Minshew, he's not startable in a single QB league. I don't even think he's startable in a super flex league. I know over the last 2 weeks, the Browns, they've been giving up some points to the quarterbacks. But Minshew, I don't know. He goes in these waves of like where he's this dude and where he's not this dude. And I just don't want it. I don't want it. Zamir White, Alexander Madison. I don't want it. Like, even though it's a decent matchup against the Browns, like I don't want him. I don't want him. Not this week. Devontae Adams, probably the only guy that Brock Bowers, like also. But yeah, I think it's Devontae Adams and Brock Bowers and the wide receivers and the tight ends. It's not even that good of a matchup. The Browns over the last 2 weeks, they've been giving up booty to the tight end. So let's hope Brock can continue that. But this game is going to be an ugly game all around. And I bet if I look at all the overs and unders for Vegas, I bet this is one of the lower overs and unders for the entire week. So I would say avoid this game if you can, just altogether. We have made it all the way to Sunday Night Football. This is going to be an epic battle between the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen, a.k.a. the Stallion.
Wild Stallion!
Of course, you are playing him. We are never sitting the Stallion. And the Ravens are giving up a bunch of points to the QBs either way. To the running backs, though, in the middle of the road, the best performance, I believe, versus the Ravens has been Pacheco, like so far. But they went up against Vegas and Dallas in these last 2 weeks, and we know the run games over there not too much. So I'm just going to say deploy James Cook because he's been doing very, very solid. They're looking for him in the pass game. If he can get some more touchdowns like he did a couple weeks ago, we'd love it. We'd love it. Now, the wide receivers. I don't want to start Keon Coleman or anybody else besides Khalil Shakira. That's the only person that I want to start in this game. And that's more even as a flex role, not even wide receiver 2 status. I want to put him in the flex. Now to the tight ends, Dalton Kincaid. I will deploy because for whatever reason, the Ravens, they have not been good against defending the tight end. They've actually given up the second most points to tight ends so far. So Kincaid, fire him up.
All right. Fire him up.
Now to the home team. The Ravens have a really tough matchup, let me tell you, because as of right now, the Bills are giving up the 10th least points to the quarterbacks. But I'm still going to say start Lamar, especially in Superflex. They are giving up a bunch of points to running backs, though, like they didn't last week. Jacksonville, we know what happened to Jax. Like they just completely shut them down at every facet of the game. So I'm going to deploy Derrick Henry. He's got 4 touchdowns in 3 games. And as time goes on, he's looking better and more comfortable behind that line. So we're deploying Derrick Henry. Now for the wide receivers, Zay Flowers, I'm going to say no. The Bills, they are shutting down wide receivers. Like they are just holding them down. And I know so far, Arizona, Miami, Jacksonville, it's not like they went up against like super top tier guys like every single week, but they've been holding it down enough to where I'm going to say don't even start Zay Flowers. Like a lot of reason we want Lamar Jackson is for his legs, not necessarily for his arm. So yeah, and then Mark Andrews, we're not doing it. Like bullshit, man. Like you have to make the choice on him or Likely, and I just want to avoid it altogether. Sucks. It really sucks. So yeah, Sunday Night Football. This should be a really good game, but I feel like it could be real fluky for fantasy. So beware of who you start. Now we have made it all the way to Monday Night Football. This week is another special week because we have 2 Monday Night Football games. And in the first Monday Night Football game, we have the high-powered offense of the Tennessee Titans going up to the Barn Burners in Miami. Those Miami Dolphins, 2 high-powered offenses going at it on Monday Night Football. I'm sure that's what they thought when they made this schedule a long time ago, but that is so far from reality. So far from reality. Will Levi's, you're sitting him. Why?
He's a bum. He was a bum then, and he's a bum now.
And not just because he's a bum, because Miami's actually giving up the least amount of points to quarterbacks right now. So just a really bad matchup for any quarterback who goes in there. Look at even the Stallion. He scored and they put up points, but he did not put up a bunch of fantasy points like as well. One of the ways you can attack the Dolphins is on the ground. So Tony Pollard, I would say start him in a flex role. I'm not super excited to start him. And Calvin Ridley, tough matchup for him. He's like a flex guy, like at best. So I will say start him in a flex role. I'm not really confident about him, but the reason I am a little confident about him is because we saw the Titans give him the ball in the red zone and like rushing and just all kinds of different things. So that's why I'm going to say Calvin Ridley. He's more like a flex play, and that's about it. And I know there's a bunch of people who are super hyped about DeAndre Hopkins. Like, pick him up, whatever you want to do, but just leave him on the bench. Like, just leave him on the bench. You might get a bullshit touchdown because Ridley's going to be so covered, especially if it's Ramsey who's covering him for a bunch of the game. But yeah, I'm leaning on sitting damn near everybody in this game. It's going to be a very, very low scoring affair, I'm sure. Tony Pollard, he's like the only one who I'd like to play. Now, I am recording this as of Wednesday morning. We don't have a whole bunch of news on injury reports or things like that. It's either going to be Skylar Thompson, Tyler Huntley, or Tim Boyle who's going to be throwing the ball for Miami. I don't know if it really makes one difference or another. Like, we really don't want to play any of the quarterbacks. And A-Chain, of course, you're starting him. And the Titans, one of the things that you could do is run on them. So, of course, you're starting A-Chain. Really the only guy that we're starting with any kind of confidence, because the Tennessee Titans, they're giving up the second least points to wide receivers. A lot of it has to do with L'Jarius Sneed. So I will just say sit Tyreek and sit Waddle. It sucks, man. Like, guys like Braxton Berrios might have more yards because no one's going to be thinking about Braxton Berrios. And then the tight ends like Jonnu. I know that, I guess for Green Bay, I didn't even really see this. It was so trash. I guess Green Bay did the best in any tight end core as far as like how many points they actually scored last week. And even after giving up like the most points in week 3, they're still giving up the second least points to the tight end position. So sit everybody except A-Chain. Fuck it. Tyreek Hill looks super frustrated, like out there. He's going to be going up against L'Jarius Sneed. Like, that just makes it even worse. Like, L'Jarius Sneed's probably going to be talking shit to him the whole time about his quarterback. So, yeah, this game is, when they scheduled it, they scheduled a barn burner. But this is probably going to be one of the most trash games to watch of this entire week. And luckily, we have 2 games to bank on for Monday Night Football. Let's get into the second game. We've made it all the way to the very final game, Monday Night Football between the Seahawks and the Lions. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. Hit that like button. Leave a comment as well. And let's get it. So Gino, I will start him in a super flex. I don't know about single QB. It depends on who your options are. The Lions, they are giving up somewhat decent points to the QB, but nothing amazing. It's just like a little bit above, like middle of the road. Ken Walker. I'm recording this early on Wednesday. We do not have West Coast practice reports yet. If Ken Walker does not play, we are locking and loading with Charbonnet. Now, it's probably out of lack of running back depth on why you would be doing that, though. Because as of right now, the Lions are giving up the least amount of points to running backs. I don't know if you could believe that, but they are as of now. They went up against the Rams, the Bucks, and Arizona. So do with that information what you will. But if it was up to me, I wouldn't be playing the running backs in this game. And I know that Charbonnet is probably going to be a volume guy, and that's why I say that if you have to, you're going to start him because it's the running back depth. Like, not a lot of people have running back depth right now. But I just want to make that clear on the running back matchup against the Lions. Like, right now, it's not good. It's actually the worst matchup that you can have in all of football. But it's the exact opposite for the wide receivers over there. So you might be able to deploy all 3 wide receivers here. I would say Tyler Lockett would be the only guy that I would pump the brakes a little bit on, but Metcalf and JSN, locking and loading those guys. And I think in a flex, I think in a lot of flex situations, I would flex Tyler Lockett because the Lions, a lot of times they're scoring and you just have to throw to keep up with them. And so that's why I like the wide receivers for the Seahawks going up against the Lions, but I do not like the running backs at all. Now to the home team of the Lions, I'm going to start Jared Goff. Now, the Seahawks do have a decent secondary, and they are giving up the 12th least points to the quarterbacks as of right now. It is a small sample size. I'm going to say start Jared Goff. Now, the running back situation, it's been a little hairy right now. Dave Montgomery and Gibbs, like they're both flex guys right now. Seahawks are giving up the 10th fewest points to running backs right now. So a little bit of a cause to pause with those guys. I would say Monty seems like he's the guy, right? If you're going to play one of the two. But I find it hard to believe that you wouldn't at least play these guys in like flex capacity. But if you can sit them, if you're that blessed, 8 or 10 man league, I would sit them. Now the wide receivers, Amon-Ra, come on, man. We are never sitting Amon-Ra. It is a little bit of a toughish matchup, though. It really is. And so I think that's why I'm going to say Amon-Ra, we're never sitting. Jameson Williams, though, it's a bad matchup for him. They don't have just one good cornerback over there. They have multiple good cornerbacks over there. And we saw how Jameson Williams last week could get taken out of a game. And I'm just going to sit him versus the Seahawks and them. They're giving up the 9th least points to wide receivers as of right now. I feel like you're never going to sit Amon-Ra. I'm going to sit Jameson in this one. Now the tight ends. Oh, man. One of the things that Seattle's got back to is giving up a bunch of points to the tight ends. So I'm going to say start Sam Laporta. If he plays, I know he's got the Q next to his name right now. We got to see what the injury reports are all about. But Brock, you can go pick him up for free in your league right now. And if Sam Laporta doesn't play, I'd throw Brock Wright out there. The tight end landscape is so garbage that you got to exploit the good matchups. This is a good matchup to exploit. There you have it. Boom. All 16 games broken down. Every fantasy relevant player talked about. Hit that subscribe button. I guarantee you I will be your biggest fantasy resource this year and beyond because I'm not going anywhere. Make sure that you go join our private fantasy community on Patreon. It's 420crew.com. That is, one more time, 420crew.com. Go sign up. You can sign up for free. I'd recommend signing up at least as a $5 member because you're going to get more access to things being a paid member than a free member. But either way, you can stay in the loop with everything that I'm doing, with all the leagues, with all the videos, with all the content, all that kind of stuff by being a free member. So make sure that you go and join the 420 crew at 420crew.com. Appreciate you guys. And we will see you for the watch parties. And make sure you come catch a live stream so you can get your questions answered live from me. And let's do it to it. Let's get these week 4 dubs. Let's go. And I got some waiver wire videos that are popping up right now. So just do yourself a favor. Click it, click it, click it.